What's up, guys?
Joe, if you want to start, you can go ahead first.
Sure. Uh, Joe Icono, GoBlackKnights.com. How you doing tonight, Coach Worley? How was practice today?
It was great. How are you, Joe?
Doing well. Doing very well. Thank you. The offensive line, the mob, really seems to be coming together. They're not perfect. And obviously, I'm sure when you guys watch film, you can see a lot of things they still need to improve on. But they were really moving the line of scrimmage on Saturday. And just every game, they seem to be getting a little better. Is it really just reps and cohesion as a unit together? They've been blessed, just like last year's team, to stay healthy the whole season. It's been the same five guys now for 6 games. Was that kind of maybe some of the early season problems on first down, second down that we're kind of now starting to see get solved? Is it just cohesion and number of reps together, or there's some other things that have gone into the improvement of their play?
Yeah, I think you said it. You hit the nail on the head. Anytime you're replacing three starters on the offensive line, I think it takes time. And we knew it'd be a work in progress, and those guys need to continue to get better. But, the last couple games, just the violence and the line of scrimmage has moved. And, they still have a lot of work to do at certain positions, but Henry Appleton is showing up every game. He gets better every game. He's going to be an outstanding player. And then Teddy Sealan is incredibly high, but he's only played that position for 6 games. And so sometimes you see that, and sometimes you see exactly what we think we're going to get out of Teddy. And he's played well overall. But that unit playing with the cohesion and the chemistry, like you said, has been critical in practice and over the first 6 games. And your goal is to get better every week, and I think they have.
And we're starting to see Carson Smith's role increase every single week. He seems to be able to do some really good things with the football inside the tackles. Talk a little bit about his maturation and his improvement and what you're seeing out of Carson.
Yeah, I mean, we knew what he was with the football, and just being able to finish runs, get yards after contact, really good track runner, not track speed, but track runner. Those things, he sees things, he understands angles, and he has a knack for taking his hip away and winning at second level, third level, first level, and finishing runs and pushing the pile. What the biggest steps that he has taken is without the football, without a doubt. Now we trust him in every aspect of the offense. He's really well coached, and he's taking coaching. The competition in the room brings out the best in the room. And so he's really stepped up in several different ways. But his time, or his playing time, will continue to increase with his play increasing and the things that we've seen over the course of the first 6 games. But I've been really proud of how he's responded to the things that we had question marks going into the season, how he's responded and really dove into his fundamentals and his overall understanding of the offense. And he's playing really well right now.
And last question for you, Cody, Tulane specific. They've given up a lot of big explosive plays this year defensively, especially in the passing game, but they are extremely athletic and they can make some big plays as well. What do you guys need to do? What are you seeing out of Tulane's defense that could present some challenges for your offense?
Yeah, I think the nature of some of the explosives is who they've played. They've played 3 Power 5 teams. They beat 2 of them. Ole Miss is ranked third in
Ole
the
Miss,
country.
yeah.
Yeah. And they've been really dominant against everyone else. So, I know the South Alabama game was tight. That was a early game. They were still finding their footing, I believe, with how many new starters that they had coming out of the transfer portal. But the thing that stands out to me is their depth. They have a new single-digit D lineman that can come in and look the same. And the linebacking core, I know they have one guy that got banged up early in the season, but number 15 is kind of the heart and soul of their defense. And he's a guy that played against us last year. So he'll have a little bit of a vendetta, maybe not some of the other guys, but he's the heart and soul of the defense. He's the captain. You can see him pointing out things pre-snap. He gets them lined up. But overall, incredibly well coached. Greg Gasparotto, I have a lot of respect for. worked here, played against him when I was at Furman. He was at Wofford. Have a lot of, similarities in what they do and what we do defensively. But overall, the talent and the skill set at every position is through the roof. So we've got to sustain blocks because they're really good at getting off blocks. So when the line of scrimmage moves, we got to find a way to sustain blocks if we can move it. And then we've got to keep them off balance. And really, what they've done and who they've seen thus far, and the opponents, hopefully, with our brand of football, we can do some things and force them into a game that maybe they're not accustomed to playing, but that doesn't take away anything that they're capable of. Because against the run, their speed from sideline to sideline, their physicality, their understanding from their coaching staff with us, so they'll have a great plan. They'll be incredibly well coached, and they'll be ready for this game. I know Coach Summerall is kind of playing it down with all the new players that they have, and we're a new team, they're a new team. But, they're going to use that game last year as motivation for sure. So we're expecting their best, and their best is really good.
Thanks, Cody. Best of luck to you Saturday.
Thank you, Joe.
Sal, you want to go ahead?
Hey, Cody, thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sal, how are you, man?
Good. How much can you guys use that game last year as motivation to say, hey, we kind of controlled the game? I know some faces have changed, but you're kind of running maybe kind of the same stuff with Kale that you were running with Bryson.
I think just having confidence in this year's team and moving forward is the biggest thing we're focused on. We obviously watched the game from last year, but, with how many new faces we have on offense, there's 3 guys that really played in that game that are still playing for us. So seeing some of the scheme stuff, seeing some of that may help us, but they're a completely new team. We're really a completely new offense to a certain degree. So, utilizing that game, we do it what we need to do with it, but we understand the challenge ahead, and, they're going to make adjustments. They're going to do different things. They have different personnel. So, to your point, we use it as, all right, we were able to do some things and have some confidence, in the overall things that we're doing. But it's completely unique challenge every week, and especially this week with a completely different defensive unit in terms of personnel.
Was there a moment or play against Charlotte where you saw Kale and you said, okay, he's taking quarterback to the next level for him?
Yeah, just how consistent he was throughout his opportunities. I thought he played really well early on, set the tone. He made great decisions with the ball. There was some pass concepts where something broke down or protection, and he made good decisions. And he's continuing to do that and showcase that in practice. And with the exception of, you look at the plays that he's had this season overall, right? You look at about 6 to 8 plays that were negative. Other than that, I think he's played really well, and he gets better with every rep and every opportunity. So I was proud with the performance. Still got a long way to go, and he knows that. But he's certainly taken the next step to be our guy. So I was proud of how he played, and we're going to need him to play really well this week to have a shot.
No doubt. Last one. I know against Charlotte, you tried to get Noah established on the edge. It was a little bit of tough sledding, but I know how important Noah is to the offense. What can you guys do? I know Tulane knows that too. How do you work that into the game plan this week, facing a team that kind of knows a little bit about them and your offense?
Yeah, I think forcing them to defend everything is critical. So some of the plays, say against Charlotte, one of our explosives to Briggs Bartosh was because of Noah. So an action on a toss sweep, and then Briggs hits it inside. So everybody knows, Noah is a focal point of the offense, and he'll need to be on Saturday in unique ways to get him the ball. The ball finds him. and whether it's the pass game or the run game. But we've got to utilize every asset of our scheme and our game plan to keep them off balance and force them to defend everything. Because if we get static or stale, it'll be a long, long day.
Appreciate it, Cody. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks, Sal.
Ken McMillan.
Hey, Cody, just to follow on what Sal was talking about, Noah Short, he's putting up just amazing numbers in the history of West Point. Can you just talk about his versatility, just the way he plays and the ability to pass catch, but also, run the ball?
He's really grown with the ball in his hands. It started out last year that it was just track speed fast, and you get him the ball, and hopefully it's blocked up perfectly or blocked up well, and he can hit the crease. What he's showcased this year is the ability to make guys miss and finish runs and turn maybe a not perfectly blocked perimeter play into a positive gain. So that's something that he's really worked on, and it has shown up in every game. And then from a pass catching ability, that's what he's always kind of hung his hat on. And he's a longer target. He's fast, and his route running has increased and gotten better over the course of the last couple of years and really this year specifically. But, we know he's a weapon. We've got to continue to utilize him as a weapon. And I'm really proud of how he's performed in practice to give him a shot in games. But he's a great practice player. He shows up on game day. He cares a lot. He's a great teammate, and he's going to continue to make plays.
Is he a relative rarity in college football these days, the ability to, be a dual threat?
I think so. The way our offense is kind of the format of our offense utilizes him in a very unique way, and his skill set is portrayed in a lot of different ways. So, not many people are utilizing a guy like that in so many different roles. So I think it allows him to showcase his ability in a lot of different ways. But, I think most people are pretty pigeonholed into, all right, here's tight end, here's our spread tight end. And I think Noah just presents, a lot of different things that you can do offensively, and his skill set overall within our offense is showcased. But he's unique talent in everything that he does, and we got to hopefully he shows up on Saturday in the same fashion.
Jeff was very upset the other day, losing a ball, Hayden with the fumble. Just talk about the whole team and ball protection since Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's every opportunity you have to coach the fundamentals of those things are critical. I listened to Marcus Freeman address the same thing with his star running back, and I thought it was perfect. You can't say, hey, you can't fumble. It's not like you're talking to your kid, like you can't do this, you can't do this. You have to present it, show it to them, understand that it was a fundamental flaw, and every way that we can replicate that in practice so it becomes a habit or we put you in that situation again. So in practice this week, we worked in the position that he was in when he fumbled. So I think continuing to coach the fundamentals is critical. So those guys still have confidence, but it's something that we have continuously stressed, and hopefully the time and effort will pay off. But I think it's just it's any fundamental. You miss a block, you miss a tackle, you drop a pass, you fumble the football. I think it's you to coach the fundamentals, put them in those opportunities in practice, and hopefully it'll pay off.
And last thing, talk about Kale and his development, his burgeoning confidence, I imagine, would be one way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, every week you're starting to see that even more. And, his play has increased, his opportunities have increased. He's really showcased that he's the guy. And, I think that confidence, he's got a lot of moxie and swagger to begin with. So keeping him grounded to a certain degree and him understanding that he's still got a long way to go. It helps him in practice, helps him in opportunities in games, but I'm really proud of how he's responded. As a leader, taking charge and really developing overall in practice, and that's showcasing the game and the success that he's had.
You said the word moxie. How close is that to the word cocky?
You know, if you watch Baker Mayfield play, he's closer to Baker Mayfield than he is some other guys. So, you know, Baker is his favorite player. So you kind of see that swag and that kind of moxie, and it comes off like that at times, probably. I think all the great quarterbacks and the guys that had that aura about them kind of shows up on game day, but a lot of it is just how fierce of a competitor he is. He
But you don't
wants
want to tamp that down, right?
No,
No.
no.
Okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And to wrap up, Ken Kreitzer, if you're still with us, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you. I'm just on the train tonight. Just like to ask you about Army did a great job Saturday about completing drives. First, and then the second quarter, 17 plays, 85 yards, chewed up almost 11 minutes. How did you feel about the team being able to go on those sustained drives and finishing them off?
Yeah, really proud of the offensive line play. You know, the line of scrimmage consistently moved in the direction that it needed to. And that gave us opportunities to stay on schedule. It gave us opportunities to finish drives. We were in manageable third and fourth downs. You know, we went 10 of 14 in conversion down opportunities. So, you know, whenever you can move the line of scrimmage and do those things and tip your hat to the offensive line and the guys carrying the football, you know, that was critical. And that's something that we got to continue to be and continue to do in order to have success. And then your explosion plays happen. You know, Kale's explosion play on the first drive, you know, we're able to hit a big pass play to Noah. Those are the things that we got to do. And if you know, if we can go 75 yards in 11 minutes every time, great, but there's a lot of things that you got to be really, really sharp on in order for those drives to take place. So we got to continue to create explosives with our fundamentals and our scheme, but I was really proud of how the offensive line played to give us a shot.
And Coach, just asking about pass plays. Kale in the second half got the 44-yard pass completion to Noah Short. Got you inside the 10-yard line. Would you like to see openings taken advantage of, maybe a pass or two more down the field during the game to keep the defense a little loose?
Yeah, you know that we had opportunities in the game too, and we had a drop touchdown pass in the end zone, which I thought was a really, really well thrown ball by Dwayne. You know, we had a protection breakdown. Samari Howard's wide open on a play action pass. We tuck and run on another. So it's those opportunities. We'll continue to put them in those positions to make plays, but we got to make them. You know, so that's the critical component. And luckily, we're able to make that play on the 3rd and 9 to Noah and get down inside the 10 and finish that drive with a touchdown. But when we have opportunities, we've got to maximize those. And at times this season, we haven't, unfortunately. So we got to continue to put them in those positions, not have breakdowns with protection and throw and catch.
Hey, Coach, just something I noticed in the Tulane defensive stats that they've got 6 interceptions. Is that something that they're opportunistic at, trying to go for the ball on pass plays?
Yeah, they're really talented on the back end. You know, so those guys are ball hawk. They're long. They have great speed. So it's always something. Those guys are really good at creating turnovers across the board. I think they're ranked in the top 15 defensively. So they're very opportunistic. We've got to be, you know, really, really good with our ball security and our decision making in the pass game. When the ball's in the air, it's our ball or it hits the ground. And then we've got to be really clean in our ball security when we're running the football. But they're a really good defensive unit. They always are. They're really well coached, and we got a huge challenge on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. See you there.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Cody.
Yep.